Welcome to At the Table, a podcast by the Ohio Leadership Advisory Council. I'm your host, Dr. Elizabeth Lolli, co-director of OLAC. This is a space where Ohio education leaders come together to explore timely and relevant topics shaping leadership, learning, and school improvement across the state. Whether you're a superintendent, principal, coach, or classroom teacher, there's a seat for you here. Let's get started. Today, our guest is Dr. Paul Kish, who is the Director of Curriculum and Instruction for Clearview Local Schools. Paul, you were one of the districts that OLAC has chosen in the last several years as OLAC District of the Year. Congratulations on that. Can you tell us some exciting things that are happening in Clearview now?
Sure. Clearview is a unique district in that we're like a family. It's probably about 1,500, 1,600 kids each year. 3 buildings, elementary, middle school, high school. And so I think a lot of the projects that we're working on year to year are just trying to bring the staff closer together to serve the students. So we do a lot of different things as a collaborative leadership group. And then we do a lot of things where we're trying to create some common language and common initiatives together at all 3 buildings. One of those, which is very unique, is that kind of came through this Ohio improvement process. And each year we have a goal to improve school culture and climate. And so we looked into that pretty seriously, and we connected with the Ron Clark Academy in Atlanta, Georgia. And we sent teams of teachers for, I believe, 4 years in a row to really identify that culture down there and unique ways that they create their culture at their school. And we kind of brought a lot of those ideas back. And one of those was developing the house system, which is like a PBIS sort of initiative where we have 8 houses in the district. So every kid, K to 12, is in one of these 8 houses. And actually every staff member, from the kindergarten teacher to the bus driver, is also in one of these 8 houses. And so we kind of took that model from the RCA, brought it to Clearview. So that's something that we're working on every year. And I think what makes it very unique in Clearview is that's like a foundation for building culture. And the 3 areas that it most addresses is collaboration, communication, and creativity. And we're trying to develop leaders through that system. So what's different is you may see that kind of house system in perhaps like a middle school where I think it's popular, but Clearview does it K to 12. And we have our challenges doing that at the different age groups, but we'll be in our 4th year next year of implementing it, and I think it's just going to continue to grow. So that's something that's very exciting, that I think it stemmed from this whole idea of the Ohio improvement process and this district goal that we had of always having a goal of improving climate and culture.
That's a great story. There are so many schools that need to have that cultural work first to make sure that everybody's on board with the same focus on student achievement, on student learning, and actually on building relationships and making sure that we work together. One of the things that the OLAC promotes quite extensively is really shared leadership, as most of Ohio organizations do. And Ohio has talked about shared leadership in a variety of ways. Shared leadership can be called PLC, it can be called teacher-based teams, building leadership teams, district leadership teams. It can be called a variety of different things. And data teams, perhaps teacher data teams, that sort of thing. Some of your shared leadership experiences can probably help guide other districts that are trying to implement that shared leadership. The cultural work that you've done clearly indicated that you were ready for some shared leadership and much more responsibility with those teams. Could you talk a little bit about that for our audience today?
Sure. I think the first step was that whole culture piece. But what goes with that is a different mindset for leadership. So the principals in the district and myself did a lot of leadership study. We actually had classes that we would create, go actually through Ashland University and created courses in leadership to try to study that piece of going from a top-down structure of leadership to more of a leader that serves as a facilitator, whose goal is to create more leaders. So you just can't come in, I believe, and just say, okay, we're going to do this now. The leaders in the district have to kind of understand that transformational leadership type of style. And so we studied it. We did book studies. We did other courses. I think we did a total of 3 within the first year. And so once that foundation was created with the leaders, then I think they kind of understood what that shared leadership aspect is, in which you're kind of letting go. And you're letting go, and you're doing more listening than you are kind of talking to people, as a direct, this is what we're going to do. It's more listening, and it's more kind of taking people's ideas, taking the best ideas, and having those be the foundation for, your work with kids.
The leadership piece is so important, because if we don't have leaders that understand how to lead and what they're actually leading, it becomes an issue, and we don't really see results. What do you think some of the benefits are from the shared leadership work? You did the cultural work, the foundational piece, then you actually studied leadership and worked very tirelessly with your administrative team, and then you moved into the shared leadership position. What are some of the benefits that you've seen from that work that you've been doing, especially the shared leadership work?
Well, overall, it improves student achievement. I believe every staff member felt that they had a voice. Every staff member felt like the representatives that were on BLT, that they felt like their voice could be shared through that representative. Now, if you look at it visually, the DLTs at the top, and then the DLTs oversee the building leadership teams, and then the building leadership teams oversee so visually, it kind of has a very scaffolded structure. And we actually created a visual for that, so that the whole district kind of saw this is how it breaks down. And so I think the staff saw that they were directly part of that their ideas could be heard, and that could actually go all the way up to, improvements, not just in their grade level or their TBT, but all district-wide. So it created a lot of, more of a team attitude and more of a collaborative attitude where, we're not top-down leadership. It's more of that shared leadership idea where everybody has a voice.
And that's excellent. The morale is probably outstanding in your district, with people having that voice at all different levels and being able to express that. Can you tell us a little bit about how you keep everybody engaged and active in that process? Because teachers, administrators, central office staff are very, very busy. It's a lot of work to have this type of environment continue in your school district, and it's a lot of time and effort. Can you talk a little bit about how you keep everyone active and engaged?
Sure. I believe there's 2 things. First of all, it has to be a structure for meetings. It can't just be random. So at the beginning of the school year, we emphasize with our leadership team, with the principals, that those meetings have to be calendared and shared with the entire building, the entire district, so that we can see exactly where those meetings fall. Our DLT meets quarterly, so they get those dates. Our BLT meets monthly, so those dates are shared with the staff. And then our TBTs meet weekly. So that's all on the calendar, and staff sees that structure. And there's a commitment to that. And it's easy to go in and say, oh, we're so busy and this person's missing, let's cancel for the, and we tried to emphasize, no, keep that meeting, keep that communication going, because it's not top down, it's shared. Everybody has a voice, and that meeting may be important for an individual to share this idea or the results of an assessment or something like that. And then the other piece is communication. So whenever there are meetings, it's not just the communication of what occurred in that meeting is not just shared amongst that group. those meeting minutes are shared out. The notes are shared out. So, for example, when we meet quarterly as a district leadership team, that Friday, because we have a Friday newsletter that goes out every Friday morning, and what's shared on that is the PowerPoint that was used at that district leadership team meeting, and then also the meeting minutes that were from that meeting. So everybody has access to that. And we even post that on our website so even the community can see what occurred at those meetings.
I think that's amazing that you're able to post that for your community, because one of the things that was running through my head as you were talking was, what kind of support do you get from the Board of Education? Do you have a lot of questions from your parents about these things that are happening? Do students actually get involved in any of this in any way? Because it sounds like to me it's all encompassing. And it's rather amazing that a school district can do that. So I don't know if you want to talk a little bit about that or not.
Well, I wish I got more questions, actually. I wish, that would, be something I'd love to expand upon for those that aren't in those committees. I'll get the occasional email question about something that's on the minutes or something that was in the PowerPoint or something from the assessment data that's shared. But to expand upon that, I think the key is the communication piece. There's no secret meeting of notes that is only shared with a small collective group of those that are in that committee. I think because we do share it out like that, people feel that it's kind of an open process. And, even if you're not in one of those groups, you have the information and you can ask the questions and your ideas and your voice could be heard as well.
Do these teams that work together, your TBTs and your BLTs, working with the district leadership team, do they help the district formulate goals for the following year? When we do our one plans and when we look at our CCIPs and those sorts of things, all acronyms for the plan that we have to give to the state, for those that don't know those acronyms. But do they help formulate those?
They do. In Clearview, we keep it fairly simple and broad. Improvements in literacy, mathematics, and school climate. And from that, each building, if you ever look at that one plan, it just, feels like a million questions for those filling it out. So we don't really share that out because I think most staff would look at that and almost see it as a task of, just completing questions, and there's some redundancy. And so what we do is we call them key initiatives. So annually, each building comes up with 2 to 3 key initiatives that they believe are going to make the biggest impact on those 3 district goal areas. And some intersect. I know MTSS the last couple years has been an area that each building has wanted to improve, learn more about it, structure those meetings more effectively. So that would be a key initiative at all 3 buildings that was common. But then they also have some autonomy on things that they believe that their age group of students and their age group of challenges with their teachers wants to have as a priority or key initiative. So that's kind of how we break it down. And I think it's more manageable that way. So if I'm a teacher at the elementary, let's say, and I see the 3 key initiatives, I know, okay, we're going to narrow our focus. These 3 areas are going to give us our biggest impact, as opposed to looking at this broad 50-question response plan.
It is overwhelming at times to actually look at that, but knowing that you've narrowed it down to 3 goals or initiatives that you're looking at, I'm making the assumption that those have been used several years in a row, because your success margin that we're seeing indicates that you've focused for a period of time. Maybe you changed the action steps, or maybe you changed some of the internal initiatives to get to those goals, but because you kept that focus, you've been able to actually see that great achievement that you've had, the difference in things occurring over the last several years. Is that a correct assumption on my part, that you've focused on those things for several years in a row?
Correct. Some key initiatives will be on that list for a building, maybe 2 to 3 years. And just because it perhaps goes off of that list for a school year doesn't mean, well, we've accomplished it, it's done. It just means that either there's another priority that needs more attention, or the time spent on emphasizing that initiative, it doesn't disappear. It just goes to a different level. I think a great example of this is our PBIS program. My first few years, all 3 buildings, that was a key initiative to kind of hone that in and have some common language building to building, and really go from a punitive model of discipline to more of a learning model. And it's still important in our district. Obviously, as I mentioned, that house system is sort of the characteristic of it. Now, you wouldn't perhaps see that on the key initiatives for this past school year and not this coming school year, but that's still obviously an important goal in the district that helps us, improve our school climate. And I kind of liken it to, and I share this with the district leadership team. I have a couple screens which I show a cook with a lot of pots on the stove, and it's difficult to manage when you have a lot of pots on the stove. Sometimes if you have too many, the main course gets ruined, okay, because your focus is on too many things. So, we actually show that analogy, narrow that focus to just, a few pots, a few key initiatives, and that, I think that narrowing of the focus is a relief to people. It doesn't mean those other things aren't important. It just means we're emphasizing these, and there's perhaps a sunset clause on some of these initiatives, but they're still being addressed on area of importance.
That's an excellent explanation and a great visual for people to understand that even though we don't have it listed, we're still doing it, and we're still keeping up with it and making sure that we're using it. That's excellent. One of the things that I would like to do for our audience with each of the podcasts is, as we conclude, could you talk about steps that you would advise curriculum directors, superintendents, principals, teachers on how to actually get to that shared leadership model that's helped you be so successful in Clearview? If you could just kind of lay out a plan for them that maybe they could copy and imitate and have the same type of success, perhaps.
Sure. I would say there's 3 steps to that. First is creating a culture. And we talked a little bit about that, but a leader just can't come in and say, okay, now we're doing shared leadership and everybody has a voice. Well, to create the culture first, what we did was obviously teach our principals what that looks like, and different styles of leadership in which, we're creating other leaders, transformational leadership, and what that looks like. So, create that culture first by training your leaders. Okay. Then the second step, I think, would be this idea of inclusivity. Okay. In school districts, perhaps you've experienced it too, a lot of the same people are in the same committees and same programs in which they're volunteering their time and they're volunteering their ideas, either because they have the time, they have the energy, or there's a bias there to, some agreement on, I know this teacher has the same ideas that I do, so I want them in this committee. So we kind of said, nope, we're going to do this with inclusivity, which we're going to open that up to more people to be part of these groups. So our DLT, BLTs, they're people that rotate in and out because we want that inclusivity. So creating that philosophy of expanding, the number of teachers that are being part of it purposely. And then I think the third thing is to serve more of a facilitator as opposed to like a top-down directive approach as a leader. So if you go to our DLT meetings, I think I'll do some leading and initiating of the meeting, but then you're going to hear mostly the teachers talking. So to create that atmosphere, for example, we'll give tasks at our DLT meeting to share out. And so each BLT will be working together to come up with their response so that they can share it with the rest of the district. So when that BLT stands up to present, it's not me, it's not the principal, it's the teachers leading that. So we purposely did that to give them that voice. So and I'll take a lot of pictures of that even and put that on social media and put that in our newsletter so that the whole district can see, well, there's my colleague leading the meeting, and so that they see that. And we even, this whole idea of getting them to be leaders as well. We wanted more conversation at our meetings, because sometimes when a group presents, they may say, okay, anybody have any questions? Sometimes everybody looks around and there's no questions because
Right.
perhaps they don't want to. So we purposely would assign people to ask questions. So we would say, to get more engagement, we'd say, okay, the elementary is going to present, the 3 strategies that have made the most impact on literacy. After their presentation, Mr. Johnson, you're going to ask them a question regarding what you heard. And it's kind of, it'd be funny at first, but then I think they saw the relevance of that in a whole active listening thing, and that kind of opened up the floor for more people to feel comfortable asking questions and getting some more engagement with those meetings. So I'd say those 3 things.
Great.
That's the key to, I think, expanding into the shared leadership within an entire district.
Thank you for sharing those. The other thing that I would ask is you talked a little bit about some of the resources and some of the trainings that you've done. You did the Ron Clark Institute with your staff. You did the book studies. Are there OLAC resources that you used to help support that maybe would be beneficial to others in the Ohio region areas that we have?
Yeah, I believe that was part of almost like the whole book study idea with the principals, as we studied those resources to kind of define that idea of shared leadership. So there's many resources on that website. Clearview's even on that website now. But I think that developed like that framework of the idea of really what does that model of the Ohio improvement process look like? And so our principals kind of did that, and then some of our principals would take those resources and then, as an example, show those to their staff at a staff meeting. I know, for example, our elementary specifically did that as part of a reoccurring agenda item. So that helped in the whole idea of building that culture of shared leadership using those OLAC resources.
Paul, I know that you're an author of a book that has come out recently. Could you talk a little bit about the title, the contents, and where people might be able to get that book?
Sure. The book's called Leadership Through Relationships, Prioritizing Relationships in the Pursuit to Lead Successful Schools. And basically, it is an outline of 10 chapters, which are 10 components, where school leaders, but really any type of leadership field, is emphasizing 10 key components to lead, where you're putting people first, people before programs, people before initiatives, and it's that whole idea of shared leadership as well. And once people feel valued, respected, appreciated, you can get the best person to be part of your teams, part of your district. So the book can be found on Amazon. The book can be found on Codebreaker website as well, who's the publisher. And I would encourage, I've done a couple book studies with local ESCs. The Educational Service Center in Lorain County, recently we just wrapped one up, which there was a group that did a book study of it, and also did an event for Summit County ESC around the book as well. So I would love to expand that idea, because I think teachers deserve to be led by leaders who put relationships as the highest priority.
Excellent. I think it sounds like a great opportunity for people to hear from you about that, and to also read about the work that you've been doing and have done. So really appreciate that. I'm going to order mine soon. So will you autograph it for me?
Absolutely.
All right. All right. Thank you so much. And I'd like to thank the audience as well. Thank you for joining us at the table. I'm Dr. Elizabeth Lolli, and it's been a pleasure to have you with us today. If you found today's conversation valuable, be sure to subscribe and share with your colleagues. And for more information about leadership tools and professional learning resources, visit ohioleadership.org. And until next time, keep leading with purpose.